Yo, what's going on, guys? And today I wanted to speak about the New York Knicks and their coaching search. It's down to 3 people, it seems. Look, Jason Kidd, you guys have probably all read it, is allegedly the wild card. I don't think he's going to be coached at this point unless, they do something wild and they get him. But I digress. Let's get right into it. We're just going to go ahead and mainly speak about, if you guys want to see my thoughts on Jason Kidd, just go see our prior videos on the New York Knicks coaching search because the thoughts remain the same. Either way, Taylor Jenkins, the former Grizzlies coach, and Mike Brown, the former Kings, Lakers, and Cavaliers coach, are the 2 final candidates, I guess you would say, or the front runners, it seems like, as that's the 2 guys that they're focusing in on. Now, I kind of like Mike Brown. Off the dome, Mike Brown, former Spurs coach or assistant coach, coming from a Spurs lineage back in the old Spurs guys. And he actually coached the Cavaliers to the finals. Obviously, they lost, but he's a guy who's been around the game. He's an old guy, no nonsense. And I don't think the players would be able to push him around. I'm not saying that these are the type of players to be pushovers or to try to, get rid of their coach or not listen to their coach. These are professionals. It's a solid locker room. Say what you want about Karl Anthony Towns. I really do think this is a solid locker room that they have here. And Mike Brown being a defensive coach, who I think is way better at offense than Tom Thibodeau was, is going to be a better coach to bring in for a team that has championship aspirations than bringing in Taylor Jenkins, who was fired for not being able to elevate the team to the championship level that they were hoping with the Grizzlies. So let's talk about what is necessary for this Knicks team, assuming that the core is going to be brought back of Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Deuce McBride, and gets the, obviously Tyler Kolek and Puckham are guys off the bench. Same with Kevin McCullough, Ariel Huckporty. Supposedly Landry Shamit's probably going to come back, but Mitchell Robinson, I don't know the likelihood if he stays or if he's a trade chip. And same thing with PJ Tucker having an option. Now, that being said, this team actually was the 6th worst rebounding team in the league. They were also the 2nd worst at blocks. They need a rim protector or just be able to collectively do a better job of protecting the rim, while also being a team that was the 6th worst at 3-point makes. They attempted the 4th least amount of threes. Yes, they had the 8th best percentage, but their volume was not good. And they were bottom half of the league in rebounds in general, but their defensive rebounds, they just weren't able to start fast breaks because this is a team that didn't do a good job on the boards, especially on the defensive side. They were better on the offensive side, but on the defensive side, you're not able to go ahead and put yourself in a position to start fast breaks and have a good transition offense. So a lot of those things, I think having a guy like Mike Brown, not only who was able to coach the Kings to the number 1 offense in the league, but it was able to improve their defense, I think we'll actually be able to install some offensive creativity into the team that their problem is primarily defense and just being more efficient on offense. While yes, I think Taylor Jenkins was a guy who coached a young startup Grizzlies team to consecutive 2nd seeds, but their offense stagnated. I know also it's not like he was given the best thing to build with. I do really truly wonder what was the, I can't get a true read on Taylor, and it's not anything to discredit Taylor. It's just Taylor never been there, never done that. And I know Mike Brown technically hasn't won a championship as a head coach, but he's won one multiple times as an assistant with the Warriors and the Spurs. He's done that. He's been there. And that's what I'm taking a bet on. Let me hear your thoughts before we continue. So yeah, with that being said, I think, look, both guys are defensive coaches who can coach offense, which, no offense to Tom Thibodeau, I don't think Coach Tibbs was ever known as a offensive guru. He kind of just let his boys play in whatever way suited their strengths, and to me that's not a problem. However, I do think Taylor Jenkins has more offensive ingenuity than, Tom Thibodeau, and he doesn't stagger his lineups as much. Mike Brown's a bit more of an old school coach, but I think this team kind of needs an old school coach. Now, maybe if they do need someone who's better, the other thing is Taylor Jenkins is also a guy from the Spurs lineage. So you're getting both Spurs coaches who are both defensive minded guys who still have a strong offensive acumen to allow this team to get better at finding more efficient shot selection while also getting better at rebounding as a whole and maybe solving the rim protection regardless of Mitchell Robinson being there or not, and if they do or not bring in a defensive rim protector in free agency. So with all that being said, because they're basically going to go try to, if they don't do any crazy swings this offseason, they're going to be improving this team via the margins. And that's not like anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the biggest thing is that you're trying to figure out how you can maximize a team that I think biggest problem, A, is depth, but B is defense. So you need a defensive coach that can solve multitude of problems while also maximizing a roster. So it's really finding a coach who's going to optimize this. And to me, I just think, again, no offense to a Taylor Jenkins, who I think is a hell of a coach. I think Taylor Jenkins is more of a coach that you want to bring into a situation. What is the sort of situation for a Taylor Jenkins? Well, I think it would have been where it's maybe not a rebuilding team, but maybe a team that's trying to make the jump from rebuilding to playoff team, sort of like the Charlotte Hornets, if they hadn't hired Charles Lee. While I think Mike Brown, if you're a championship aspiring organization like the Knicks are, suggesting that they are, you go after a coach who's been there, who's been on teams at the very least that have won championships multiple times in different eras, done it in the old school way back in the 2000s, and did it recently when the Warriors won it in 2022, right? Or was that was 2022? Yeah. So those are my thoughts on that. That's it. Bye.